day to you viewers, the Colonel speaking to you live from the Grange, British Imperial YouTube Broadcasting. We've got a first for YouTube Broadcasting today, viewers. A broadcast record 829, Mrs. Bloomberg's Jewish Boarding House, parts 1, 2 and 3. A three-sided record already. Never mind the quality, feel the width, my boy. Anyway, it's by Julian Rose. It's actually 3 sides. There aren't 3 sides on this record. There's 2 sides on this record and 1 on that one. So here we go. I feel a lot of Jewish jokes coming on.
Hello everybody, Levinsky speaking. Say, I want to tell you something, don't you go away. I want to tell you about Mrs. Bloomberg's boarding house, and for all the trouble that I had in the last 2 months, I wouldn't wish it to my worst enemy, not even Cohn the Butcher. Many, many times I wished I would fall down dead, God forbid. I knew I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, but myself I wouldn't believe, so I called in Dr. Rosenstein. That made me more nervous because I had to pay him 7 and 6pence yet. When he looked at my tongue, he said, "Ha-ha." I said, "What?" He said, "I know what's the matter with you. Your medulla oblongata don't confiscate with your diaphragm." I said, "Is that so?" He said, "Well, don't I know? Didn't I study for a doctor?" He said, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm feeling terrible, thank God." And for that, I had to pay him money yet. He said, "You needed a holiday," so he sent me to his cousin, Sarah Bloomberg. She owns a boarding house in the country in a place called Skinham by the sea. He sent me away for the change in the rest. The waiters got the change and Mrs. Bloomberg got the rest. He said, "If you mention my name, they'll make you a special price," but I didn't want to be under complications to anybody. So I packed up my other shirt and I went down there. She charged me 3 guineas a week all in. I was there 1 week and I was all in. She said I could have a room with running water. Well, when it rained, I got running water. The house was built on a bluff just above the level of the sewer, with a lovely driveway in the front for creditors to drive in and to drive right out again. The house was done up beautiful by Mr. Bloom, the interior desecrator. The front porch was covered with roses, the back porch was covered with poison ivory, and the rest of the house was covered by the Prudential. And so beautiful like a cemetery, she had a sunken garden, but God only knows how much she sunk in it. What a wonderful view they had there. Everywhere you looked was water. The first day I was there, I looked in the soup, I see nothing but water. I looked out of the window, I see nothing but water. And then I realized what a wonderful place that was, and expensive too. The ground on which that house was built must have cost at least 8 shillings a gallon. She said the place was good for rheumatism. I know it was because I got mine there. But I must say my room was nice and cool. I woke up every morning with icicles in my whiskers. And when I told that to Mrs. Bloomberg, she said, "Ain't that grand? When you're through with the icicles, we can use them in the cocktails." She told me she was an art connoisseur, a collector. She had a beautiful drawing room full of oil paintings, rare etchings, and old mastiffs. She said she had a Rembrandt, a Gorilla, and a Rubens, but all I seen around there was a 1901 Buick. She said she also had a real Michelangelo in the house, but I found out that he was working in the kitchen. What a classy crowd was by Mrs. Bloomberg. The house was full of old antiques. The oldest antique was Matilda Minzersheim. They used to call her Tilly for short. But she wasn't short. She was 6'2" by 3 feet wide. And when she stood up straight, her feet looked like 20 minutes past 8. Her face was full of freckles, but you could cover each freckle with a 5-pound note. All the other boarders was jealous of her because she had a mink coat from 65 skins by her mother's life. But she couldn't fool me. 3 weeks ago, them minks was rabbits. Turn over, I ain't done yet because I'm going to tell you some more about Mrs. Bloomberg's boarding house.
Yeah, he mentioned old antiques there, viewers. I think he was talking about the Jewish jokes. Wonderful. Here we go. Oh, side 2.
Talking about Tilly Minzesheimer, she herself was a very attractive girl. Her eyes were lovely. They were dark, oriental, beautiful, expressive, tender, sparkling. It's too bad that one of them was missing. She was very rich too. She made a lot of money in oil. Her uncle blew up with a tin of paraffin and left her 4,000 pounds. Some people got all the luck. When she sailed majestical down through the dining room with the diamond tralala perched on the top of a geranium, all the other boarders said how much she looked like Oliver Cromwell all of a sudden. And she got talent too. Her nose had a beautiful voice, a mazza soprano. She has a cousin, Caruso Greenbaum. He's a singer too. He can hold a note for a minute and a half. I've been holding 2 of his notes for 3 years already. Then there was Sammy Weinstein, a commercial traveler. He was a boarder too. A nice, straightforward fella. The only thing he ever came honestly by was his tonsils. He said, how much do you think I made last year? I said, 50%. He said, 50% of what? I said, of whatever you say. Then there was the twin sisters Rosanovsky, Gittel and Becky. You couldn't tell them apart. They both had Roman noses. They roamed all over their faces. Gittel had a high instep on the top of her nose, and on Becky's nose there was a fallen arch. They used to take turns breathing heavy. One had trouble with her brain, the other had trouble with her heart. In all the meetings they acted as if they had no heart, and everybody knew they had no brain, so it made no difference what was the matter with them. Originally they came from an old Knickerbocker family. Their grandfather manufactured knee breeches. Of course, I myself was very comfortable by Mrs. Bloomberg. I had a nice bed with a good mattress with knobs on. And I realized when you're in Rome, you must do as the Romanians do, so every night I went to bed with my overcoat on. I didn't want to lose it. I had the blue room. When I woke up in the night, I was always blue. I said to Mrs. Bloomberg, where is your bathroom? Can I have a bath? She said, what do you want for the bath? You're only here for 3 weeks. The star boarder of the house was Mr. Peter Scottman, the rich South African millionaire from Australia. He brought along his own footman. Well, a footman in Easy always did have trouble with his feet. You ought to hear him eat soup. You couldn't hear the virus at all. And the day that fella was always complaining, he said to me, hey, what do you think? I got diabetes at 40. I said, what are you kicking about? I got General Motors at 92. The meals were something exquisite. They were served in French style in corsets. And the way Mrs. Bloomberg always raved about her cook, everybody knew that her cook was once in the royal kitchens by special disappointment. She had a decoration, too, 2 black eyes. Her husband decorated her. Now Mrs. Bloomberg has got 2 cooks, one coming and one going. And she had such a beautiful dinner service. It used to be gold-etched, now it's gold-scratched. And in one corner of the serviettes was embroidered the family crest, Metropole. Everything by the table was served malicious. I said to Mrs. Bloomberg one day I was hungry like a dog. She said to me, could you eat an egg? I said, I once knew a man but eat 2 and he didn't die. She said, I couldn't give you 2. The price of the eggs nowadays would make you hold your breath. With her eggs, I had to hold my nose. Well, goodbye, everybody. Later on, I'm going to tell you some more about Mrs. Bloomberg's boarding house. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, not later on, because we have part 3. Just trying not to lose parts 1 and 2. Right. Here we go. Part 3. Oh. Yes, Mrs. Bloomberg's Jewish boarding house. Here we go, part 3.
Hello, everybody. Levinsky speaking. Say, I want to tell you some more about Mrs. Bloomberg's boarding house. I must say that Mrs. Bloomberg set a very liberal table. I said to her once, can I have another piece of fish? She said, what do you want with another piece? They all taste the same. Every Tuesday we had dried currants with clinkers on them. And once in a while we had nice piece of fried fish with golf balls on the plate. One time she gave us something to eat, but we never had it before. Oysters on the shell. It wasn't so bad. The top was all right, but I couldn't eat the bottom without a nutcracker. One day I said to her, Mrs. Bloomberg, the soup is good today. She said, that ain't soup, it's coffee. She always had an answer for everybody. She said she wanted the boarders to be very happy, and they would have been happy if they could have only found somebody who could make her eat her own spinach. One day at the breakfast table I said to her, I don't like the looks of that haddock. She said, well, if it's looks you want, the next time I'll serve you with the goldfish. She was always so very nice. She was so convincing. She's the only landlady in the whole world that could make you believe a sardine was a halibut. She always sat at the head of her own table, and she looked so sweet, always with a nice feather stuck in her hair. Izzy Cohn called it a nom de plume. One night by the table, I got a piece of camel's hair cheese. By luck, I got it. It came from Italy, and I commenced to talk to it, and she was watching me. I said to the cheese, how is things in Italy? The cheese said, how should I know what's going on in Italy? I'm here already 2 years by Mrs. Bloomberg. One night we had a great excitement. A policeman came running in and said, is one of your boarders missing? She said, no, why? He said, we just found a skeleton on the beach in front of your house. At last, my holiday came to an end. I had to go back to London. The 3 weeks what I spent by Mrs. Bloomberg, she'd done me good. I lost 32 pounds, 12 pounds in cash. She gave me a farewell party. We drank up all the wine what she had in the house, 2 full half bottles, sparkling burglary. And whenever I think of that home-like place and the good food what she never gave us, I'm always reminded of that old motto what Julius Caesar said before he died, and that motto should hang in every dining room, in every boarding house in the whole world where everybody can see it. Julius Caesar said before he died, O tempora, O mores, ipso facto pro bono Colorado, which means to the victims belongs what is spoiled. Well, at last I had to go. Mrs. Bloomberg came down to see me off. I said, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. I only got 11 minutes to make my train. She said, don't you worry, Mr. Levinsky. Nobody ever misses a train here. She made her bulldog chase me down to the station, and I made it in 8 minutes. What a system. But I must say that I had a nice time by Mrs. Bloomberg. I met some very nice people. When I came there, nobody said hello. When I left there, everybody said goodbye. They even came down to the station to see me off. Not so much to see me off as to be sure that I went. And now, if you will turn over on the other side, I will sing to you so sweetly, you will never think it's me.
Actually, we'll do that as a separate video. Thank you, viewers. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Those jokes were a bit thin, but the other 2 sides were quite good. Thank you, viewers, and goodbye.